I will to keep growing. When the road gets hard, everything's dark, and the storm winds are blowing. And I encourage myself to hold on, and I won't let go. Oh no, I won't let go. I found the grace, a grace so amazing, and every morning I see it's following me, even when my world is crazy. And I encourage myself to hold on, and I won't let go. Oh no, I won't let go. Holding on is never easy. It takes the strength and the courage that comes from above. But the Lord gives us power to make it. We can fight if we stand, if we stand in His love. We'll keep on going, and it's calling me, even when my world is crazy. And I encourage myself to hold on to amazing. Hold on. Hold on to what's calling for me. Hey, I hold on through the storm. Oh, everything is all right, yeah. Through the rain. Oh, the rain is falling, yeah. I keep on reaching for your hand. I keep reaching for your hand. Hey, hey, I got to hold on. Hold on. Got to hold on. To hold on, and I won't let go. Whoa. And I made up my mind to hold on, and I won't let go. Oh no, I won't let go.
A year ago, my wife and I took a vacation, and we went to Maui. And the one thing that everybody who said we had to see was the banyan tree. And so we did. We went to Lahaina, and we saw the banyan tree. It's 150 years old. And it's, for those of you in this room, it's bigger than this room, much bigger. Huge tree with these great, trunk limbs that come down and go back up. And it was a huge town center underneath the tree. And my wife and I spent time just sitting on there, people watching. But the thing that captivated us the most was the birds. I mean, it was like hundreds of birds chirping at the same time, just all up in that tree. Astoundingly gorgeous. And so when I watched the news on Tuesday and the fires of the entire town of Lahaina being burnt up, it was inconceivable for me. Like, how do I even process that whole, not just the tree, but the birds, and then the people, and all those cute shops and everything? Like, how do I even process that? And of course, my talk today that I wrote months ago, like, I didn't write the talk, but I wrote the title months ago, is The Art of Reinvention, and this monthly theme is the power of recreation. And I know that God has a sense of humor, but I was like, really? But that happens in life. Things like mass destruction and things that are even little things of maybe like a divorce or loss of a family member affect people all the time. And it's not bad, although I want to judge it as bad. I want to say, this is bad. Why, God? And it is part of life. I love the Hindus. They have aspects of the divine, and they call these aspects of the divine, the one divine, they call them gods and goddesses. And they have this god called Shiva. And Shiva is the destroyer. But Shiva is an aspect of the inherent nature of the divine life. And the destroyer destroys things when it's time for a recreation. It sets the stage for something new to come forth. And so the Hindus, when they're in this process of life, understand that that is part of the cycle of life, and that happens. Instead of having it be shunned or turned down, it's embraced as part of life. And I don't mean to spiritually bypass this, because it's not something that I can or am willing to. But I do recognize that in the times of grief, in the times when what was no longer is, there's also the understanding that that's the experience of the phoenix burning down. It's also the experience of the loss. And as human beings, we can't ignore the fact that we have human emotions, and grief is an integral part of our life. Sometime you will be experiencing grief. Whether you resist it or not, it's going to be there. And whether it's grief about what's going on right now, or it's grief about the loss of a relationship, or the loss of a pet, or the loss of something in your life, you will be going through grief. So instead of having it be something that we don't talk about, instead it's something that it's essential for us to talk about. Because in order for reinvention to happen, we need to understand and grasp our fear and embrace change. Oftentimes, when something catastrophic like this happens, it builds fear in people because nobody wants to experience that again. I lost a relationship. I don't want to experience that again, so I'm not going to be willing to go out again. But there also needs to be a time period of recognizing the grief. There's a pause in the in-between. So what do we do when we have that catastrophic loss and we take the time to pause in the in-between? That's the perfect time to set the stage for the reinvention. You may not consciously be thinking about that, but being in the emotions and allowing them to process through you and be in community where people can support you and know your highest good is essential. How do I navigate fear? How do I continue to keep walking when I am experiencing this kind of devastation? Well, each person has their own experience of that, but I can tell you, I would never have made it through my lifetimes when I had that devastation if it weren't for community. And that's an essential part of us being God expressed on this planet, is us walking alongside people as they're processing what's going on with them. Not pushing them, not shoving them, not making them wrong or right, just allowing the process to unfold, knowing that there is a divine timing for everything. There's this book that I'm going to be talking a lot about, in the next couple of months. This Life is Joy by Roger Teal. So I'm going to be using this book for CBEC, but then I'm also going to be teaching a class. So if you're not going to CBEC, I'm going to be teaching a class about it after CBEC. And then I'm going to do a 2-day in-house retreat in October based on some of these concepts. Now, it seems awesome. This Life is Joy. I want joy in my life, right? Oh, this is going to be a great book to read. Oh my gosh, this is so much fun. And then you start reading the chapters. The chapter title, This Conflict is Forgiveness. This Disease is Discovery. How about this fear is my friend? This problem is possibility. This change is birth. So, in order for us to get to this place where this life is joy, it's actually recognizing and knowing that all of these fires might happen in our lives. And maybe it's not a literal fire, but it's some other type of fire. The fire of judgment, of conflict, of disease. Something that is happening in your life right now is an opportunity for reinvention. But in order for us to do that together, there has to be a willingness to say yes to the newness. And just because you say yes to the newness doesn't mean you're having the newness in that moment. It means you're knowing that there is a divine plan that is for the highest good always, even in the face of disaster. And this is the hardest time, often, to do our spiritual practices. How do I do spiritual practice when I'm down, when I'm upset? How do I even do that? Well, that's the most important time to be doing your spiritual practice. Because at this time, this is the place of recreation. This is the place of reinvention. And oftentimes we allow our fears to block our way. There's a story in the book. Roger Teal has a wife. His wife's named Erica. I guess I just want to keep throwing this pen on the floor. He's got a wife named Erica, and Erica tells the story of his wife, Erica. And by the way, Roger Teal was the senior minister of the largest CSL in our organization, Mile High Church. And this is basically all the wisdom that he acquired through many years of ministry. So he tells the story of his wife who had adopted, not really adopted, but there was this organization for teenagers who were unmarried, and they had provided a place for these women to live, and they were looking for like adopted older sisters. And so Erica signed up to be an adoptive older sister, and she became friends with this woman named Nicole. Now, Nicole had gotten pregnant at 19, and she told her family, and her family kicked her out of the house. And when she told the father, who was a 16-year-old man, he freaked out and he left her. Now, he freaked out and he left her because his father had been killed a couple of years prior as a policeman, and he didn't feel like he knew how to be a father because his father was so great. And so he just up and left. So there's Nicole, distraught, pregnant, upset, nowhere to go. She goes to this organization. She meets Erica. Erica starts to get to know her. And the more Erica gets to know her, the more she sees the magnificence in this person. And she reflects it to Nicole. She reminds her what she sees in her. And Nicole had this great opportunity just a month before her baby was born, where her family invited her to come to church. And her family invited her to come to church on Mother's Day. And so on Mother's Day, the church decides to give a rose to all of the mothers in the room. And so all the mothers are standing up, and Nicole's not standing up, but then there's a person behind her that stood up and is nudging her, and the person beside her, that's also a pregnant woman, nudges her, and so she stands up, and as she stands up to embrace her motherhood, she looks at her family, and her family looks at her with disdain and scorn. And she's traumatized. And as she goes home, when she walks in the door, she finds a card. And she opens the card, and it's a Mother's Day card from Erica. And in the Mother's Day card from Erica, Erica talks about all of the magnificent things she sees in Nicole that would make her a good mother. And in that moment, something shifted for Nicole. She had an opportunity to believe her family or to believe this person who saw her for who she really is. And she chose to believe Erica. And later on, Erica encourages her to step out into knowing herself even more. But Nicole has all these fears. What if I'm going to be a bad mother? What if I not only ruin my life, but I also ruin this child's life? How am I going to pay for raising myself and my child? How am I going to do this? Now, maybe you've had those kinds of questions. You've had some kind of traumatic thing happen in your life, and you're like, how am I going to do this? What if I messed it all up? And Erica kept encouraging her to know that there's a higher possibility of good out there. Well, one day, Nicole is contacted by her baby's father. He says, I'm back in town. I want to talk to her. Now, Nicole's like, no talking. Nope. And Erica encourages her to go ahead and have that conversation. And Nicole's like, but look what he did to me. Why would I ever do that? And Erica said, just believe that there's a possibility for a change. And so Nicole meets the father in a public location with an emergency plan just in case. And the father asks Nicole to tell him everything she's been feeling over the last year. And so she lets loose. She tells him all the feelings of insecurity, all her anger at him, everything that she's been going through over the last year. And he listens to her. He reflects back everything he's heard from her. And then he apologizes. And then he says, I really like you, and I'd like to start dating again. Would you be willing to forgive me and try again? And something in her melts, and she says yes. And the story goes on to say that Nicole ended up marrying him, and they had 2 other kids, so 3 kids in total, and they're still having a happy and successful marriage. But what would have happened if Nicole let her fears get in her way? What would have happened if Nicole had listened to her family instead of believing in herself and hearing that reflected back at her? We have all of these opportunities in life when there's a huge transition or something big that's happened in our lives. And the question is, who are you going to be in it? What are you willing to believe? Now, one of the things that you can do is not only embrace the fear, but also recognize when you're not willing to move forward. Get help. Talk to a therapist. Talk to a practitioner. Make sure you let people know that you're in a place where you're not knowing. But the thing that you do know is that there's a possibility for something different. That's all you need, is that little kernel for something to evolve. Jesus had a parable. He called it the parable of the mustard seed. And it was like, I don't know if you've seen a mustard seed. I mean, they're like tiny. They're kind of like the poppy seed. If you've seen a poppy seed, you've seen a mustard seed. And in the parable, he says, all you need is the faith of a mustard seed. Because when the mustard seed gets planted, now those are like crazy weeds, and they just pop up and grow these huge things. Little tiny seed. But that's all we need, is just the faith that the possibility is there for a huge shift to happen within us. I recommend that we all take on this idea of being the eternal student. So if you're willing to move through fear and embrace the change, a way to do that is to be the eternal student. To keep learning, to be teachable, to be willing. There's a story of this Japanese tea master, and people from all around came to see him, and he had this new student, and the new student was so excited. He wanted the tea master to see all that he had learned. What a great student he was. And so the tea master meets him for the first time, and he's pouring the tea. And he's pouring the tea, and then the cup starts overflowing. And the student says, wait, master, the cup is overflowing. It's too much. And the tea master keeps pouring for a little while. And then he stops. And he said, why'd you do that? What's going on? And the master said, you came here and your cup was already full. And so when I went to pour more tea in, it overflowed. It could not take anything new. And he said, you have to be willing to be in beginner's mind. Even though you know all that you know, if you are to be the eternal student, you have to keep starting with beginner's mind. And I love that story, because sometimes, I don't know about you, I've been in this teaching for like 23 years now. What more can I learn? How much more spirituality can I have? Well, there's a lot to learn. I'm ever evolving, ever growing, ever willing, and ever available to be teachable. And it's a reminder to always start with beginner's mind. And what a great opportunity if you're having some kind of fire in your life where there's been some kind of change or there's upcoming change, even good change, even a new job, even something brand new, moving to your dream location. It's all change. And it means that something has to be left behind and has to be let go of in order for the newness to come in. So if we are to be with beginner's mind, we have to let go of three things that prevent us from being there. One of the things is called the Dunning-Kruger effect. This is a psychology term. But this is the term that says, I know it all already, like the student, and I have no more room for new things because I already have it all. And so we aren't willing to be humble or teachable because we've already learned all there is to learn in this area. The second thing that prevents us from being the eternal student is the imposter effect. Now, maybe you've had that where, like, you get into a job and it's like your dream job, but then you feel like, oh, I don't deserve this, or I'm not enough. Or maybe you're in, a family or a group, an organization, and they elect you to a certain position, or you say, I want to do this, and then you're like, well, I'm not enough. And part of the imposter effect is the unwillingness to take risks because you don't want to show off that you aren't enough. And so you don't move forward and you don't take risks. And the third thing is having a fixed mindset. And that is, I've done it always this way, and so that's the only way I know how to do it. Those three things are impediments to our moving forward and reinventing and recreating ourselves. If we want to move forward, we need to re-embrace not only the beginner's mind, but the mind of a child. George Burns was like 101, 102 when he passed away. He started doing acting in a vaudeville show at 15 years old. And throughout his life, he did all different types of acting. His last acting gig was when he was 100 years old. And you know what he said? He said, the reason why I can keep doing acting is because I come at it with the mind of a child. It's always something new. Now, what if we were to come at life like that? What if you were to take on this week, this month, this year with the curiosity of a child? I remember being a very curious child. I was a person who was asking all the questions of my parents, like, why is the sky blue? How does that bumblebee fly? And, what is that bug? And where does it come from? And how does a butterfly fly? And, all of those questions. And it got to the point where I remember my dad one time, he said, because. And I was like, because why? Because is a final answer. Okay. But I know that I've lost some of that curiosity. I've lost some of that inherent willingness to go look at things with new eyes. But I can claim it back. But I have to be willing to be curious. Asking questions. What else is possible? What newness is in this? What can I get from this? What can I glean? How is this improving my life? What else do I need to know? What's my next level of evolution? You can just keep asking questions. You don't even have to have the answer for it. Just be curious. The beautiful thing that I've noticed about the universe is when I ask the questions, the answers come. They may not come instantaneously, but if I'm willing to be open and ask the questions, the universe is willing to give me answers. But I have to be willing to ask. So the first thing of reinvention and recreating yourself is learning to move with fear and embrace the change. The second thing is to be the eternal student. And the third thing is to imagine your life as a canvas. Imagine your life as a blank canvas that always has possibilities. I know that God, Spirit, Source, the universe, the eternal one, the infinite everything, whatever you call it, Buddha, Allah, Jehovah, Whatever your name is, it is all possibilities and all potentialities, all things that have ever been and all things yet to be. And inherent in this moment is the infinite possibility that comes when we're willing to dream up something new. I have a great friend, and her husband died a year ago. And they were together for like 55 years, I think. And she said, I'm going to take a whole year to grieve. I'm not going to make any choices. I'm going to not make any decisions. I am just going to be in the space of grieving. I'm going to allow this spaciousness of the in-between to be. And so she did. And a year has come upon us. And now she said, I'm ready to move forward. I'm ready to reinvent my life. I'm now starting to dream again. But she had to take the time of the in-between to allow that time to process before she got to the place of allowing the dream to happen. And she dreamed of a brand new cabin. And it's in process right now. It's actually happening. But there is always new life after destruction. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just part of life. And I know it's not easy. I have another friend who is a police chaplain. And in California, they had this fire called the Paradise Fire. And the entire city of Paradise got wiped out, just like the entire city of Lahaina. And she was a chaplain to the people, the first responders. So they were going in after everything had gone through with their cadaver dogs, and they were finding the people who didn't make it. And she was counseling those people through their grief because they're affected by that. Not only the first trauma of the experience, but then having to be human beings who are navigating the destruction firsthand. And in that, she realized that she had to make had to have some really hard conversations with people. She was elected to tell 2 children that their parents didn't make it. Now, how do you tell 2 children that and still believe in a God where anything is possible? You do it with love and compassion. Because sometimes when we're in our grief, it's just like a ball right in front of our face, and that's all we can see. And that's all we need at the time is love and compassion. But knowing that that ball gets farther and farther away, it's always there. But the farther we get from an event, the ball is a little bit over there, and we can see more clearly around us. But we need to have people who know that there is something possible after destruction. There's something possible after this change in your life has happened. You need to know that the infinite possibility of the one is there to ever recreate you, and that our souls are on an ever-evolving process. And sometimes this is part of the process. And I have to be willing to go through it in order for my soul to open up to a greater me. So I encourage you to know that that seed of possibility is there, that you have a new canvas every time the old one is taken away. Now, I don't know how Lahaina is going to look. And I know that people will be in grief for a long time. And that the grief is always there. It may seem less and less as the days go by, but I will never see the same city again. And I need to accept that. There's a part of me that is gone forever. But then who is the new me that I'm willing to be? So just be in the question. Be in the knowingness. And be willing to walk your friends and family through that experience in their life that might be happening. And if it's you, be willing to ask for help. Because we need each other to be able to see the greatness in each other. Just like Erica saw the greatness in Nicole, we need to be doing that with each other every day. So if you are willing to be recreated today, if you're willing to reinvent yourself, I encourage you to know that the fear has no power over you. And that embracing the change allows you to move through it even quicker. Not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong, just saying it is. Because you know what? The only constant in life is change. We will always be changing. And if we're willing to accept that, perhaps we can be the eternal student and keep growing and learning. Be willing to be vulnerable, be willing to fail, be willing to go into that new relationship, go into that new job, go into that new place that we're moving to, or rebuild what we lost. Because when we choose to do that, something magical happens. I don't know what it is, but I know it's happened to me several times in my life, and I'm willing for it to happen through us today. So if you're willing to be open to that, let's pray. So again, just recognizing and knowing that the infinite presence of love is here in this room. And as I feel that love for myself, for my life, I feel it also spreading to each and every person that's in this room, each and every person who's online, each and every person who's going through some kind of difficulty and challenge. I send my love to the people in Maui and Hawaii, to all the first responders, to all the people who lost people. I send my love to the people who've left their body, and the animals and the plants who have left this physical plane. And I send this love to each and every person over the mountains, into the heavens, over the ocean, into the sea. And as Karen Drucker's song has, it returns back to me, knowing that this love is magnified and multiplied. And that in this love there is a recreation, there is a reinvention. And that I am open to that great possibility. I'm open to a new canvas of what it looks like. Celebrating what was, honoring what was, and knowing that there is a possibility for something new. I don't know what it is, but God knows. And so I just say yes to that possibility. I say yes to it in my life. I say yes to it in each and every person's life right here and right now, knowing that that yes, that willingness, that openness guides me, uplifts me, pulls me forward into a new vision for humanity, because I say yes to all of us. And I know that that's what this life is all about. It's about me being love. Here now, evolving into the highest version of who I can be, but also the highest version of who we can be. And so I say yes to that. In deep gratitude and appreciation, I recognize and know and follow the signs and the leads and the guidance that pulls me forward into that next iteration. I also listen to my heart when it's cracked open and I need to process my emotions, that I give time and spaciousness for me to be in that as well, knowing that it's all part of the beautiful process that is unfolding. It is perfect exactly as it is. And I ask, what else is possible? And how can it get even better than this? Knowing that God knows, I am guided, directed, and sustained by this truth right here and right now. Lovingly, joyfully, I accept it, and so it is. Thank you.